Coming up today on our podcast, Women and Money, the Shit We Don't Talk About, we are honored to have our guest, Violette de Ayala.
We are thrilled to have Violette with us today. Violette is founder and CEO of Femcity.
So fun. We're going to talk to Violette about her desire to create Femcity. She wanted to answer the challenge of female business owners who were looking for a community where they could get information and support to help them create and build the business of their dreams. So for those of you who don't know, Femcity is one of our partners here at Purse Strings. So as partners, Femcity and its expansive community knows how Purse Strings is available for all women when they have any financial transactions, transitions, or investments. And Purse Strings promotes Femcity so that they know there's this amazing support of women-centric professionals, leaders in their community who want to help women start, launch, and grow their business.
Women are starting more businesses today than ever before. And as we know, having your own business can be exhilarating and freeing, but also really hard work.
It's true. So this topic will be so beneficial for women who have their own businesses or for those who are considering launching one. Let's get started.
Gloria Steinem once said, "We will never solve the feminization of power until we solve the masculinity of wealth." Barbara Provost and Maggie Nielsen are the team at Purse Strings that will help you navigate the ins and outs of financial independence so that you can be financially fearless. This is Women and Money, the shit we don't talk about.
All right. So we're so excited about getting started with our podcast today. As you know, it's called Women and Money, the Shit We Don't Talk About, because we want to start opening these conversations and talking about it. So we're honored today to have Violette de Ayala with us today.
Violette is the founder and CEO of Femcity. Violette is a seasoned entrepreneur who launched her first small business at the age of 22. She is obsessed with business growth and helping femmes grow big businesses. Violette strives to create innovative resources, platforms, and webinars so women can create the business and life they envision, all with balance, prosperity, and happiness. Violette knows what it's like to start a business, not know which way to go, and feel alone during the process. Thank you, Violette, for being with us today. We'd love you to introduce yourself, share a bit about Femcity and your vision creating it, and how you really got this expansive platform for business owners.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here on your podcast, and congratulations on nailing my last name because that was perfect. So many people can't pronounce it. So that made me so happy. So thank you so much for that and for that introduction. So I started Femcity in 2009. I actually did it for selfish reasons. I had moved from North Carolina back home to Miami. And when I lived in North Carolina, I owned a Pilates studio for about 10 years. And really the success of my Pilates studio was because of this group that I belonged to in Raleigh called Chicks in Biz. It's a small little group of small business owners that were female. And I really missed them. I moved to Miami and I really missed that group. And so when I started thinking about my own business, starting a PR agency, working with environmental initiatives, I couldn't find something in Miami that was similar to Chicks in Biz. Even though Miami has a great reputation of throwing amazing parties and events, and I would go to all of them, I just always felt like I was missing something more yummy, I guess, more community-based. And so I started Femcity literally on the side, just for fun, with a couple of girlfriends that I met along the way. I said, listen, I'm going to start this group. We'll meet once a month. It'll just be 20 women, and we're just going to support each other. And the first Femcity Miami event in 2009 was horrible. It was really boring. I didn't plan for any curriculum. I didn't have any speakers. We didn't have any format. And I thought it was really just botched. It was horrible. And then the second time I hosted a Femcity Miami event, we had 60 women show up. Couldn't believe it. So those 20 loved it. I really don't know why. They loved it. And they shared it with other women. And it continuously grew and grew. And by the end of that year, a new product had come on the market called Facebook. My son had gotten me an account on Facebook. I had no idea what to do with Facebook, but I was posting the pictures of our events, and women started seeing the pictures and asking for Femcity locations in their backyard. And again, I had no idea what that even meant. I would actually even say to them, like, why would you want a Femcity, community? Like, you could just get together with women. It's not a big deal. We're just getting together. And it wasn't until the 10th or 20th time of people asking me that I realized there was something here that's bigger than what I can see. Let me step into this place. And so I started to research, do some focus group, ask women questions, doing surveys. And then I realized, okay, this could actually launch. And we launched in a couple of chapters just to test it, to see. We launched in Fort Lauderdale, which made sense. It was close by. And that did really well. And then we said, okay, let me go ahead and launch it really far away in Philadelphia, because I really don't have a connection with Philadelphia. I had never been to Philadelphia at the time. And if it would really work there, then I know we were onto something. And so it did. It worked really well there. And we just continued to grow and grow. And then, of course, we had Google reach out to us. I'm kind of giving you the whole entire scoop.
That's okay.
Google reached out to us in 2010 and offered to teach our members classes. I said, okay, that's great. I mean, it's Google. That's amazing. And then after that, Yelp did the same thing. So they taught our members how to get on Yelp and how to deal with negative reviews and how to do your business profile. And really that leveraged us into the online courses and the classes. So that's, we've been doing it for quite some time. We still do our Tuesday live business classes and marketing classes, but that's really how it started. It wasn't really my vision. It wasn't my vision to create online classes. It came to me through Google and Yelp. And then I realized, okay, there's some stuff that we need to do online as well for women that can't make it to our events. That at least they have the curriculum to help their businesses grow.
Wow, that's an amazing start. And I mean, to have those Google and Yelp reach out, that's amazing. And so Femcity is now over 100 communities, right, in the United States and Canada.
Well, we were before the pandemic. So because of the pandemic, we had to close a couple of our communities and then consolidate. So we even had a meeting last night with Femcity Ottawa. So even around Ottawa, as an example, we had a lot of little smaller communities. And now we're just going and bring them all together now that we're starting to meet in real life. So it's probably around 70 communities right now.
Still, that's a ton of women that you're helping. And I know your mission is to help over 1 million women through the program, the platform, and the diverse community. And that's why we love having a partnership with Femcity, is to really help those women who want to start and launch and grow their business. It's really powerful stuff.
Thank you. And we love our partnership with Purse Strings as well. Just the financial curriculum that you provide to our members as well has been just incredibly valuable. So thank you. A little plug for you guys and the work that you do in the world.
We love the partnership. We love it because our missions are aligned in helping women at any point along their journey, with the focus here on women who want to start and launch and grow their business. So let's get into it, Violet. Let's get into some juicy conversation. So we know that more women than ever before have left corporate, the Great Resignation, and many women are starting their own businesses. So with just that being said, of what's happened with the pandemic, what are you seeing in your communities around that topic?
So we saw a lot of women during the pandemic reach out to us in a really bad situation financially. So they had lost their job, and not only that, they're taking on online learning with their kids. So a lot of our members were in that situation. Not all of them, but many of them were in that situation. And I think the realization of starting a business became more apparent. Perhaps they had it in the back of their minds for some time. Maybe they know someone, maybe they've taken a couple, watched a couple Femcity panel conversations. And I think it really kind of hit them to say, this is the time for me to move forward and create it and start the side hustle that will eventually become my full time. So we saw a lot more of the side hustles being created. We had a lot of members that, and I love these stories, that they were full time and they recognized during this time that even though they didn't lose their job, they could no longer keep that 9 to 5 working for a corporation or for an entity or an organization. So we had a lot of our femmes that also were able to resign because they were able to leverage their side hustle and turn it into a full-time gig and provide for their family with those finances, that income that was coming in. So we do have a couple of really great stories like that that came through as well. So it was definitely a lot of shifting that happened. Our curriculum also changed, right? So when we started getting those requests, we even started a Femcity Foundation because we recognize that not all women can afford our membership, and we want to make sure that we're accessible to all women. So we do offer a scholarship for women that cannot afford or cannot budget our membership. So those were kind of the things that we saw. But I think that it's hard to go back. So even if you were doing, working full time and you were able to do it from home, remote working from home, I think now what women are realizing is, I don't want to go back to the office. I really like having my balance. I like really, working from home and being able to pick up the kids or help them with their homework. Or like, as an example, today, I'm taking my father to see a surgeon, right? That's really a difficult thing to do if I'm working full time for a corporation, to take, an entire day to go and meet with his surgeon. So those are kinds of the scenarios that we saw during that time. The Great Resignation, I think, a lot of people will say, well, it's because people are lazy and they don't want to work and all this stuff. And the reality is that they realize their worth and they realize that it's time for them to go ahead and get paid more. A perfect example is there's a retail store here in Miami that my daughter worked for. That's a really popular brand. And, they don't have anyone working for them. So they have to cut their hours. So the store literally closes at 4, where it used to close at 9. And, the reality is that I know how much they pay. And, if people are not working there, pay them more.
Right.
Because a lot of those women are realizing, why am I going to work making minimum wage with maybe a little perk of commission at the end when I can go on my own through platforms like Fiverr or Upwork and freelance and make more money from the comfort of my home and in balance.
Right. There's a ton of great points you brought out there, and it's very freeing and powerful to run your own company and, to set your own hours and things like that. But we're also realizing that women are doing this thing because we can't work 9 to 5 and still take care of all the tasks that need to be done in the house, pick up the kids and, do the laundry and get everything done. We can't have the man over us anymore, and we want to be equally paid.
Women can't do the 9 to 5, pick up the kids and do everything else and feel like intimidated that they can't leave at a certain time, right? To go pick up their children, take their father to the doctor, whatever. However, the other side of that is when you start your own business, you wear every single hat in that business and you're even busier. So you're not, punching a clock and getting a regular paycheck, but now you're the bookkeeper, you're the cleaner, you're the expert, you're the IT person, you're the HR person, you're the, troubleshooter. And that's really, really hard. I mean, let's speak the truth. Owning your own business is not for the faint of heart. So I would love for you to comment and speak a little bit to that as well.
I love that you brought that up. My husband and I were literally talking about that this morning. And, we were saying that with our parents, they didn't work for themselves. They worked for corporations. So as an example, sometimes my father will call after, like at 4:30 or 5 and not understand why I'm still working. Or sometimes my husband's parents don't understand why he can't go on vacation for, a week and a half. And it's because when you have your own business, specifically a startup, you are doing everything. I mean, last night I was up until 11 o'clock. Granted, I had 3 hours that I took, I kind of hopped over to a little pop-up here in Miami because I'm thinking about doing Femcity pop-ups. I kind of want to do some research. So I did take some time away, but I worked until 11 o'clock. I'm taking off next week for my birthday. So, part of starting your business and operating your business and then scaling your business and then, launching other businesses, because eventually, you should have multiple streams of revenue, which I know you both love saying and talking and teaching about. It takes time and it's a different type of commitment, but I think the reward is bigger in a sense of like, I can work double hours this week and then take off next week, or I know like on Friday, I'm going to be working. I'm taking the train to West Palm and then back, working on the train. So therefore, I can take today and go take my dad to the surgeon. And then tomorrow my daughter has an art exhibit and I can take her to rowing practice every day. So there are these moments where you realize it is so much more beneficial to be in business for yourself. It is, in a sense, more difficult. You're alone. You don't feel like you have the support. You don't have that water cooler conversation that I know lifts up people throughout the day, or that colleague lunch, or that birthday party for your, coworker. You don't have those elements, but you have all these other elements that are really big blessings. It's not for everyone. I think everyone can do it though. I think everyone should do it, but it's not for everyone. And I recognize that sometimes it is easier just to collect a paycheck and clock in 9 to 5. However, in today's world, I feel like if you are a woman, there are so many reasons why today's a great day to start a business, because of the flexibility. Specifically, if you're a mother or if you're taking care of aging parents, you have the flexibility and you have the ability also to create tremendous wealth. Entrepreneurship is truly the American dream, the way to create tremendous wealth. That yes, you can do it in a corporate setting. For women, it's a little bit more difficult because there is still a glass ceiling. We can see it. The representation is still not showing up in all of these companies around the United States and Canada. You're still not seeing a 50-50 split on the board, in the director, in the C-level. It's just not there. And so this is a great place also to earn a tremendous amount of wealth while being happy and joyous and in balance.
Yeah, it's true. when you find your passion too, it's the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. It really is. Because if you're working every day for something that you truly believe in and love doing, it's not work. And so when people say, you trade your 40-hour work week for your 80-hour work week, but it's everything that you love. And something you said, Violet, was really interesting. You're like, I took a few hours off to go to a pop-up because I'm thinking about doing pop-ups for FemCity. That's still work.
I was just going to comment on that, how it's not time off. It's always working in some thought. And I was thinking as an entrepreneur, I mean, there's times where it's like, you can't turn it off. Right. And so you're just like, oh, I guess I'm working 20 hours
I enjoy
today.
it. Yeah,
exactly.
And I went with girlfriends. So I went with girlfriends. And so that made it really fun. And yes, it's worked. And even today, so I'm going to Madison Reed to color my grays. I'm transitioning into going all gray, but I'm doing it anyway. Long story short is, I'm going and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'll just create a reel and I will do this. And so, so I'm constantly thinking about business, but the reality is I love it. I love creating reels. I love sharing information about like how I'm covering my gray. And so yes, you do work, but it should be in that sweet spot. Like you were saying, Barbara, it's in that sweet spot of like, you're doing something that you love, that is serving the world, that is making a big positive social impact, and you're financially getting rewarded for that. That's that space that you should be in. And I hear a lot of times from women that say, well, I love doing that, so I don't want to do it for a living. As an example, I love writing, but I don't want to do it for a living because it's going to change the way I feel about writing. Mm-hmm. And the truth is that the ideal sweet spot is to write the things that you love to write about. So you're in the zone, you're harmonious, you're in alignment with lifts you up, but then you're also providing value to the world. And then that karmic balance comes back to you in a form of dollars. That's where that sweet spot is, where that social entrepreneurship, I believe, is becoming more and more popular. People realizing like, I can be wealthy and make a big impact in my community and help others. So it's a fair place. Not being abusive, not taking advantage of people. Because sometimes people say, well, if you're wealthy, it means that you took advantage of people, or you're a super shady person. And yeah, that may have been in the 70s or in the 60s, but nowadays you can create tremendous wealth and be a really beautiful part of society where you're helping people. That's that place where we should all strive to be. That's the happy place.
Exactly. I love that because that's when you're in your flow or your zen, that you are in alignment with what it is that you were placed here to do on earth. Right. So, Maggie and I, we love, reaching out and lifting up other women. And I was saying to Maggie just this morning as I was having my cup of coffee, something popped up from a woman that I had known not that well, but she just popped up and said, I love everything you're doing and I love the information you're sharing. And Violet, you get those now and then, those nuggets, and it's like, I'm on the right path. People are taking in the work that we're putting out. So we're always grateful for that as entrepreneurs, right? When we get those little nuggets in our inbox.
But it shows through. So whenever I worked with the two of you, it shows through that you are really passionate about helping women and their finances. You really want them to have their own money so that they can get out of that relationship, or they can go travel the world with their friends, or they can provide for 20 dogs, or whatever it is that they want. Specifically, Maggie, what I love when I see you on Instagram, it shows through also that even in those little snippets that you create, you are really passionate about informing women about financial tips, advice, trends, what's happening, why it's important, why does it matter to you? So it shows up in everything that you do. And I think that that's a great example of when you go into business to have that spirit that you're connected to the passion, the work that you're doing, because it radiates through everything versus like I have a friend of mine who said the other day, I'm going to do a business online. I said, well, what are you going to do? I don't know, but I'm going to do something. I have to do something. Okay, that's a great start. But you need to go back and say, what is my superhero talent? What is that thing that I have that is so specific to my love to help others? Starting from that point and then creating and then figuring out the monetization part, comes into place. But it should always be connected to your spirit of who you are. I think that mistake of like, I'm just going to go, I just want to make money. I'm just going to do, what Maggie does, I'm going to do what Maggie does. Well, Barbara, I'm going to do a financial podcast too. And it's like, that's not your jam. Like, that's not your vibe. Like, stick to it, because not people are going to be like, oh, something about that doesn't make sense. It's the vibe that you're giving off. It has to align with who you are. That's the other thing that I see quite a bit.
Well, A, we really appreciate that. But B, when you have this passion, then it makes every day much easier to do. Work
Yeah.
doesn't have to be painful or treacherous. You're like, oh, wow, I'm actually really excited to get to work today. Like, sweet, let's get going,
Yeah.
which is always a lot of fun. So, what are some of the best success factors that you've seen women who want to step out onto their own?
So the number one thing is believing in yourself. That
True.
is everything because, listen, women can listen to your podcast over and over again. They have the information in their brains and you're giving them everything they need to create tremendous wealth, right? They could come to FemCity and take all the classes and they know all the things about how to start a business. At the end of the day, if you don't feel like you are worthy of having a beautiful life, or you don't think you're worthy of having financial freedom or stability, then there's nothing that anyone can do. It has to come from within. Eventually, hopefully you listen to enough stories of women who've gone from poverty into wealth that you say, okay, I've heard 100 stories of women. Therefore, maybe there is hope for me. Maybe I can get there. But you have to believe in yourself. And sometimes even, the most successful people sometimes have moments of doubt, or they feel like, oh gosh, I feel so sad today, or I feel so bummed out, or I feel like such a loser. Like every human has those days, but to have that support system around you to lift you up when you can't lift yourself up. But that is the crucial part of everything, because I've seen so many women who have everything it takes, everything, and they still spin around, and it's because at the end of the day, they don't feel like they have value, or they don't believe that they are worthy because someone in second grade told them something. It's usually something like that, or, a teacher or a parent or an ex-boyfriend or an ex-girlfriend. Someone told them something that, and then it just stuck in their mind, and they just feel like, oh, because that person told me something, therefore I don't deserve love, or I don't deserve wealth, or I don't deserve happiness. So I think that is the part where women, before you step into business, you have to be somewhat in love with yourself and say, I believe in myself enough. I'm going to venture into this area. That to me is, if we can get that fixed. And even when we have new FemCity leaders, I always tell them the hardest part about running a FemCity community is making women believe in themselves. That is the hardest part.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, we really struggle with that. And I don't know why, but that I think is like the Band-Aid that we need to fix.
Yeah. Well, that's a whole nother podcast series on,
Yeah.
on the shit we've been told our whole lives that we believed and is not true. So,
Right.
Yeah. So what are the biggest mistakes that you think people, when they step out on that skinny limb and I'm going to do this, what are like one or two, or maybe three of the biggest mistakes that you say, don't do this, do that. Like, don't do this, do that, because people want to, get their motor running and get started. What are your thoughts? What do you see?
I see a couple of things. I see people starting things without any intention. I think that's a really, again, going back to that example of my friend who's I'm just going to start something. I just want to start something, thinking about your intention, thinking about your superhero talent, thinking about how you want to serve the world. Like, really spend time in that space. Don't be chaotic. Don't be frenetic. Don't take a course and say, okay, I want to be just like that person. I'm going to do exactly, if it's not in alignment with who you are, it's never going to work out. So spend time really in that deep place of figuring out, how are you going to serve? Because if not, you are going to spin around and spin around, because people can feel the energy of someone who's unsure of their own path.
Mm-hmm.
They're not really quite sure, but they won't sign that contract because just there's something about that person. I'm not really quite sure what it is. And it's because they're not being authentic in what their superhero talent is. So that's one thing. The other thing is, there is a great thing that we've always done at FemCity is what we intentionally pause. So before we grow to the next level, we intentionally pause and we say, let's look to make sure that we are ready for that next jump. Are our processes as best as they can be? Are there any things that we can do to streamline it or to automate, make things more automatic? What are the things that we need and to keep that structure strong so we can take it to the next level? I've seen a lot of businesses fail because they've grown too fast, which some people say, well, that doesn't make any sense. But if you don't have the team in place, if you don't have the scaling model in place, if you haven't tested certain things, it can grow too fast, which then puts you out of business. And that's the other thing that I know it's counterintuitive, but, just recognize, and you'll know you're about to shift up. You'll feel it. You'll know it. Look to make sure, do you have the dream team in place? Are all the pieces, are all the holes covered, in order to be able to support that next level of growth? That I think is something that I would love to, share with your audience, is that it's okay to pause intentionally. You're not saying I don't want this. I don't want this growth. You're saying I do want this growth. Let me make sure it's ready. It's kind of like when you have a party for people. If you have now 30 people coming, are you ready for 30 people? Right? I only have 2 brownies. Okay, so 30 people, 2 brownies. That doesn't make sense. Like, how are you going to make? So thinking about how you're going to support that is a really a place where I see a lot of our members kind of miss until it's too late.
That's a lot about like almost building a building, that foundation needs to be very structured, it's the most important. But then as you build up, you don't want to rush any of those pieces either. Otherwise your whole foundation will collapse.
Right.
And all that hard work that you did.
I think we could talk to you all day, but let me just ask you, what are some parting thoughts that you have that you'd like to share with women as they venture out to start, to launch, to grow their businesses?
Just think about your superhero talent. I mean, I keep going back to that. And think about also multiple streams of revenue. The one thing that came through during the pandemic, we had a lot of our competitors, and some that we actually partnered up with, they went under. I think that when you have a brand and a business, you start off with one revenue stream, and that's really great. You need to create more revenue streams. It doesn't mean more businesses. It means more revenue streams, so that you have a lot of money coming in from various ways, so that when something like the pandemic happens or happens again, you are ready, that you can ride the wave. And that's one thing that we had, which saved us during the pandemic, because we lost a lot. And obviously we started doing scholarships and started giving away scholarships to women that were in need. So our, everything plummeted, like for everybody else. Our numbers were rising. And then the pandemic hit and it just tanked. And now we're kind of like in this hovering, but we have all these other revenue streams to support our organization. So that really saved us, which is great. And now I'm like monetizing everything. Now I've gotten into like, that's never going to be so close to, it was too close. It was too close. Yeah. So, think about, once you have that one revenue stream really strong, think about what you can add as an additional revenue stream. So it could be, as an example, let's say you're an author and you are doing well with your sales, with your book. Fantastic. How do you monetize that more? Could you create an online course that goes handy with your book? Could you create downloadable worksheets that you add to Pinterest or Etsy? Could you go ahead and create a workbook that goes with your book? Could you license it, and help other people to create curriculum? So there are all these things that you can do that are around that one thing that you've created. Really think about that, because you want to make sure you have money coming in from multiple streams. You do not want to have, just like with investments, you do not want to have all of your things in one pile.
Got it. Perfect. Brilliant. Really brilliant. Thinking outside the box, taking your core income stream and really leveraging that to other income streams. So I love that. Is there anything that we missed that you wanted to touch on in today's discussion?
I would love to just mention, I love our partnership with you, with Purse Strings. And for those that are listening, once you start your brand, collaborate with others. Collaborate, reach out. And even if it's someone who is kind of doing what you're doing, it's okay. We partner up with a lot of chambers, and some people think, well, that doesn't make sense, because Femcity is kind of like a chamber. But the reality is we are so much stronger together. So we are generally supplemental programs for chambers, and it's we have one here in Miami. We partner up a lot. We do things together with Facebook Lives and Instagram, and we share membership. And so there's enough for everyone out there. So that's one thing that I just want to, just kind of like say, I love working with you all, and I love the work that you're doing. And for those that are listening, think about your brand and who you can partner up with, and who you can, it helps everyone rise.
Couldn't have said it better. I look at women-centric businesses like yours, like ours, as building webs of protection, webs of influence, webs that could be like a safety net, right? Because women really needed a safety net during the pandemic as well, because we needed help. We needed help. And how do I now teach my children? How do I now manage my healthcare? How do I now manage the fact that my business has gone under? How do I now manage my finances, right? There's so many beautiful resources out here for women and more being created. Sometimes I say, look at the bread aisle. Look how many breads are out there on the bread aisle for selection. Different people select and take different ones, but they're all out there. We're all out there, right? Purse Strings is out there to help women with their finances. Femcity is out there to help women launch and grow their businesses. We have other partners that we're partnering with as well. We're all here building webs and reaching across the table to help one another be successful.
Love that.
Yeah.
Yay.
This has been a wonderful, wonderful conversation today. What's the best way for people to reach out to find you to be part of Femcity?
Sure. So they can head over to femcity.com and we have a free 30-day trial membership. Of course, we also have the foundation for those. Our membership is $15.99 a month. So it's not anything that's going to break the bank, but it could be a heavy price for some. So we also have that scholarship. And then personally, you can reach out to me, violetteayala.com.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us today. This has been wonderful. We always love chatting with you. We learn something new. We just love the energy that you bring to the table every single time. We love Femcity. So thank you. We appreciate you joining us.
Thank you so much.
Information is for illustrative purposes only and does not constitute tax, investment, or legal advice. Always consult with a qualified investment, legal, or tax professional before taking any action.